Okay, guys, so we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'm going to be your friendly, what am I going to be? I think your friendly Dabo Master is what I've said before, because today we are going to be, we did have a session of our Soulbound campaign that was scheduled, but we had some folks who were ill and unable to attend. So we have decided to take out Modiphius Entertainment's brand new Star Trek Adventures 2nd edition for a spin. And with me today are stars of our Soulbound campaign and the first crew members of the USS Riel, a Malachowski class vessel that we'll be taking out for its maiden voyage. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing today? First up, we've got John.
Hey everyone, I am John and I'm playing Lieutenant Kolobim Ziv. He is a Tellarite and he's in charge of flying the ship around.
Very nice.
Helmsman, I think, right?
That is correct, yep. And joining him is Will.
I'm playing Captain Eric Schaefer. He's the commanding officer of the USS Riel.
Very nice. So, keen viewers will notice the maroon monster uniforms that our crew members are wearing. That is because this is set in the late 23rd century. I mentioned this to the guys beforehand, but maybe it's worth just giving a primer for where we are and what we're doing. So, the year is 2287. In the past decade, Earth has been threatened by extinction-level events on 2 occasions relating to alien probes, one of which saw the Federation use reckless time travel to resolve the threat. And now, governments across the Beta Quadrant remain outraged that the Federation also secretly developed a device capable of wiping all life from a planet in minutes. The Romulan Star Empire's diplomatic and cultural exchange programs are threatened by the sudden death of their dynamic Romulan Praetor, and the Klingon Empire seems unwilling or unable to prevent rogue captains from bringing their cloaked birds of prey into Federation space for unknown reasons. In a strategy designated the Vanguard Initiative, Starfleet, with support from the UFP Diplomatic Corps, is now increasing their fleet's presence along all of their borders to guard against belligerent intrusion from galactic neighbors in the Beta Quadrant that seem posed for internal collapse. Both the Romulan Star Empire with its sudden death of its Praetor and the seeming weakness or fecklessness of the Klingon Empire has the Federation concerned. To reassure their colonies and allies in the borderlands that the Federation will honor their diplomatic commitments, maintain stability in this unstable time, and exert force when necessary to protect its citizens, defend its partners, and uphold its ideals. As part of the Vanguard strategy, the 77-year-old Malachowski-class vessel, the USS Riel, has deployed to the Klingon border, where a newly assembled crew must lend help to planets still affected by the passage of the alien probes, engage in whistle-stop diplomacy with unaligned cultures and civilizations, and address the growing threat of Klingon renegades who use the Federation's alleged war crimes as a pretext for acts of moral retribution. Less generous descriptions might be piracy, theft, and other general brigandry. History tells us that in 6 years, the Federation and Klingon Empire will finally travel together into the undiscovered country of galactic peace, but that will only come to pass if the Riel completes its 5-year mission. So, aesthetically, where you can think of what the Malachowski is like. The Malachowski dates from the era of the Discovery TV show. So this is before Kirk's era, before Pike's era. This is how old this sucker was. It traditionally has been kind of a escort destroyer type thing. It's not been particularly fast, but it has had a heck of a punch. That has changed since some upgrades and refits. One of the things you do in the game is you can pick kind of any space frame you want that they have rules for, and you can upgrade the thing. Every decade that passes, you get to add a refit to sort of update the stats and reflect the more modernized version. For those listening at home, the Malachowski is not something that is in the core book, but I use the Utopia Planitia source book, which does have it in it, which is for first edition. The second edition is very, very close to first edition, so it's very easy to make use of that to update your stuff. So, the aesthetics on board the ship, though, I think after your refit, you can think movie era of the original series. So Wrath of Khan going forward is sort of what the interior of the Malachowski would look like. It might be a little more cramped than what we see on the Enterprise, but the Reliant didn't seem to be a particularly spacious bridge anyway. So if you're thinking of what the Reliant was like, it's probably something close to that. Now, one of the things that they encourage you to do on the when you're making your character is to figure out what your character's pastime is. Pastimes in the Star Trek series often come up as a part of a story or a framing device, or at least a excuse to launch into a story, whether that's, classic literature, or it's holonovels, or if it's fencing, or whatever. So one thing I'd ask you to do is consider what Captain Schaefer and Lieutenant Zhiv's pastimes are. I will say as well, for those listening at home, it's our first time running second edition, so we're likely to get things wrong, and this is really a kicking the tires type of situation. We're not really, our intent more on seeing the game at play than we are getting through a complete story necessarily today. So, guys, this takes place shortly after the Riel has been tasked to travel to the border, and you're actually not far away from I don't have a map of the Klingon Empire, or the border at least, loaded, but there is a name that might be familiar to you near where you are. Let me see here. Does the name Narendra 3 mean anything to you?
Yeah.
So Narendra 3 is a place. Well, Will, do you remember what the historical significance, and by historical I mean in the future?
Yeah, no, off the top of my head, I know the name.
If I tell you what episode it features in, that it's yesterday's Enterprise.
Series,
It features in the TNG series episode Yesterday's Enterprise.
Okay, yeah, that's when the Enterprise C.
Yep.
Where the Enterprise C is in.
That is correct. Yeah.
And to save. I want to say it has something to do with the Klingons, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's correct. The Narendra 3
right?
is a Klingon outpost. No, you're bang on. It's a Klingon outpost that comes under attack by Romulans, and the Enterprise C responds. In that show, we see what happens if the Enterprise, if it's not known that a Federation vessel tried to protect the Klingons from the Romulans. But that's apparently one of the key moments that led to an alliance between, or at least a lasting peace between the Klingon Empire and the Federation. I mentioned it that it is because it is part of the borderland that the Malachowski is responsible for. At this time, you guys, if you haven't seen Star Trek 4, I can't remember how much Star Trek you're familiar with, John. How familiar are you with like the original series?
I've seen. I think most of my focus is on Next Generation. I saw a little bit of Voyager, and
so Star Trek 4 is the one with the whales. They go back in time to the 1980s.
I have seen that one. It's one of my favorite ones.
Okay, so this takes place about 6 months or so afterwards. You may remember that the whale probe, goes in and it depowers a bunch of vessels and whatnot. That as it goes through, what's not known is it passed through Klingon space definitely, and possibly Romulan space as well, leaving the same kind of trail of destruction or damaged or depowered vehicles in its wake. One of the things that stands out from that scene or that film that I always loved is there's that little bit where we see one of the captains talking about how that they've barely got life support, and their engineer has a plan to deploy a makeshift solar sail to try and maintain life support. I love that because in my mind, I'm like, that's fucking Starfleet in general, right? Like, it's constant bullshit of things that are so dangerous, but you put your, roll your sleeves up, you get down, you try and find a fix for it. And interestingly, the engineer who deployed that solar sail, that is your chief engineer, Commander Gaius. Transitioned from the Yorktown. The Yorktown was decommissioned after that, and he has been commissioned to here. Sadly, one of his vessels has gone there, but the region around November 3 is where the whale probe passed, meaning that there is, not only were there vessels that were disrupted by this, there were a couple of border colonies and such. Imagine what happens when an entire space station, full of people or starbase suddenly finds itself without power and unable to restore it as well. It has been a chaotic time. So you are delivering supplies. This is one of your less interesting things. It'll be going to Starbase 7. And it is your comms officer, a Vulcan, whose name... Oh, I have a name for her. I think I was going to make a comms officer as a character, and then I realized I'm like, I don't really know if they do all that much. Uhura rarely gets to do much more than just save that someone's calling. How does because you guys are the ones who get to pick the crew members as we go. Like it's there is a very loose set of you assign some quick stats and whatnot when you want to add in new crew members, and then you guys role play as them. So they have secondary characters that are sort of like NPCs and shared characters among the player characters, or among the players. I'm just going to double check one thing. There is a neat mechanic about crew on this, and I think it's a limitation of how much crew support. 385. Okay, hold on here. Crew. 348. Oh, no, that's not what I want. 185. Here we go. So you guys have crew support. Crew support is determined by the vessel. You have 4 on the Real. Spending crew support brings members of the crew from that mass of background activity into the foreground, putting focus on them and making them an active and significant part of a mission. Spending crew support to bring supporting characters into play is described on page 146. So this is sort of the, we've never seen this, area specialist before. We're spending 1 crew to bring this person in so we can rely on them. This one I'm not going to force your spend, but it's something to bear in mind. You guys can, over the course of the adventure, spend 4 to add crew members. This one is, how about Taval? Does that sound Vulcan enough for you?
Yeah, that's definitely Vulcan.
All right. So Lieutenant Taval has apparently got something. Captain Schaefer, what do you think you would be doing during your downtime when you're just, the Riel is in warp on destination, when you're not on shift, I guess?
Let's see here. One of the big things he does to keep himself physically active is he actually studies savate, which is the
cool.
kicking martial art.
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing. He's working out, doing some savate maneuvers. So
you get training in the gym, perhaps with one of the security officers, the red shirts or something like that? Or do you think there's someone else in the crew who you're close to?
No, it's probably just, it's probably just a crew member who's just sparring and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay. So let's do this. Let's see how, let's get some dice rolling here. Why don't you give us a I think probably daring. And hold on, let me grab my handout. I have. Oh, I can use my. There we go. Look at this GM screen, guys. Look at that sucker. All right. It is. So everything else is listed on here, but the character traits are not. Or the. I mean, it's one of those things where you got to remember, 6 things. So I guess it's just not expecting that you're going to be as much of a dummy as what I am. So what do we do? I think it's daring and security is what I'm thinking.
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure the difference what daring versus fitness is.
Oh, good point. Yeah, depends on your approach. Fitness is probably a better fit. Why don't you do fitness and security? Now you're rolling 2 dice to start with. You could give me threat to roll extra dice, or you can just roll. I think it's difficulty. This will be a difficulty 0. We're just sort of like you're training. We're going to see how flashy and whatnot it ends up being.
Yeah, let's just go. Bam.
There you go. So that's 3 successes. So what does it look like? For one thing, you generated 3 momentum. What does it look like as you put some kind of impressive move or hold or whatever on this dude?
Yeah, I think he kind of jumps into the air and does a flying roundhouse.
Okay.
And just knocks this kid to the deck.
And he's got that, that like kind of quasi-padded stuff we've seen in some of the original series movies. Right. That's probably what he's got as like for sparring gear on.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for this sparring partner of yours?
Let's see here. I'm wondering if it's maybe he's like a warrant officer.
Yeah, because we don't get to see the enlisted folks.
That's warrant officer Dennis. That's actually his last name is Dennis.
Okay.
Warrant officer Dennis.
So he goes sprawling to the ground. Now, what you can do is you could spend the momentum to, create a truth or create a trait. See, I've already fucked it up, guys. Create a trait. For those listening at home, it's called Truths in Acton Cthulhu, which I recently ran. It's called Traits in this game. So you could create a trait, or you could just dump that into the momentum pool and get it ready.
I think I'll put it in the momentum pool.
Okay, so go ahead and add 3 to that yellow dot. Remember, you click on the token, click on the hover over the yellow, and then just hit the number 3. And so Dennis hits a. What do you think Dennis is would it be called Ensign Dennis or Warrant Officer?
It'd be Warrant Officer.
Warrant Officer. So what's Dennis? What's his response, do you think, when he's sent sprawling by his captain?
I mean, he's this isn't his first time. That's probably what it is. He's been in here and he's fought against a lot of guys. He's probably mainly a boxer. He's a really good boxer, but that's mainly what he does. Yeah. And so it's a different kind of combat, Okay. And we've been sparring for a minute, and he's gotten some punches in.
Okay.
But this was just kind of the end of everything.
Yeah, so he hits the ground. Does he call you Captain? Does he call you Cap? Does he call you Eric?
He calls me Skipper.
Skipper.
Yep.
Skipper, I thought we were playing around here.
Sorry, didn't mean to knock you down that much, and he helps pick him up.
Okay. Gets up. He might say... are you able to add that to the momentum?
I'm trying. I'm clicking on that yellow or the red, either one of them, and it doesn't.
Okay, so what you do is if you click on the token, you'll see there are 2 things that come up. There's a button and there's like a cog looking thing.
Yeah.
If you click on the button on the right.
Yeah. Okay. And then click on the yellow.
Just hover over the yellow and hit whatever button you put, 3 or an 8. There you go. Perfect.
There it is. Thank you.
Perfect.
Well, where did it go?
Oh, because you might have clicked on the yellow, which meant it disappeared.
Yeah.
3.
No clicky, no hover.
There you go.
Just hover.
There we go. Woo.
Perfect.
I was
Okay.
sitting here trying to figure it out. I was like, what am I doing wrong?
So you hear the sort of like that woo thing from someone who's trying to contact you in here. I assume that you've got it's on the wall. You wouldn't be carrying around a communicator.
Yeah, it'd be on the wall. So he goes over to the comm station.
So you hit that, and you can hear Lieutenant Duvall's voice on it. Captain, we have just received a distress call, an automated distress call, and Captain, it seems to be coming from a pre-Federation vessel, but it is old Earth style.
Is it a distress signal?
It seems automated, sir. Ensign Ventura is calculating a course to the source of this symbol, or the signal. Captain, it seems to be an M-class planet. You guys would know. M is, we have subsequently learned, is short for Mshara, a Vulcan word that effectively means Earth-like or habitable.
All right. I'm on my way to the bridge.
Very good. And disconnects. So, I think Dennis says pre-Federation, Cap. Or pre-Federation, Skip. What?
You got me. I mean, there were several, at least, colony ships with long-term hibernation that had left Earth historically.
Yep.
Beyond that, it's possible one of those could have found a habitable world.
Well, one thing is, as far as for context for John, all the way up to, it's called the NX series. Most of the vessels in Star Trek that are part of Starfleet, it's USS something or other. The NX designation, like the NX Enterprise, NX-01 Enterprise, that one from the Enterprise TV series predates the Federation. That entire series took place before the Federation was ever formed. So you have pre-warp era from. I see Archer's put the Botany Bay too. Botany Bay, from that transported genetically engineered superhumans. That all the way up to the end of the NX era. All of that encompasses this pre-Federation era of space travel. So it could be quite an old signal. Yeah. So, Captain, I think so. Skip or Dennis says, "Well, you're lucky. I was about to return the favor." And he takes off, saying, "See you later, Skip."
We'll finish it next time, Woe.
So, when you get to the bridge, Captain, you can see Lieutenant Jiv is at the helm, and the Ensign Ventura is the navigator. So you can see she has calculated this, and I think Lieutenant Jiv, maybe like you're just an ensign is someone who is an officer and is expected to be as qualified as anybody else would be who's on the crew. So you're probably not like second guessing her work, but you might be able to do something to augment it if you wanted. So anything you think you might be doing to get the if you're given the order to change, you're just delivering supplies for this run here, so it's not like you're on a time sensitive thing. So if you're given the order to divert course and investigate this signal, anything you think that you might do?
You could probably save some time by just using some planet's gravity to slingshot us there a bit quicker. or a local moon or an asteroid?
I mean, that would be stuff you would be doing in system. The way that space travel works in Star Trek is at warp speed. So it is, you sort of are like in an alternate little universe bubble, and you're zipping along. The other form of movement is sublight or impulse engines. And in the impulse engine, that's absolutely where that kind of thing would happen, where you're maneuvering within a system. You're still moving extraordinarily fast, but not at warp, which is what allows them to travel between systems at a reasonable rate. Things you might try is maybe long-range sensors can give some information about this. Maybe you could access the computer bank, see if there's any information about the thing. One of the things that you do in this game is the information gathering stuff you do in like Pathfinder or PF2. There's a similar mechanic in 2D20 to gain information. And it's a momentum spend. So like you make a test against 0 and then you ask a series of questions based on the results.
Okay, maybe I can look into any like computer banks for any like known anomalies or dangers that might be present in this area if we're going to go look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, so then why don't you give us for you, it's probably, gosh, I wish there was a character sheet that I had kicking around. I bet you I could get it. I think that'll be probably insight and science.
Okay.
So right now you've got 2 dice. You have 3 momentum, so you could buy up to, without giving me any threat, you could buy up to 2 extra dice, just using that momentum.
Okay. Yeah, why not?
Okay. And Will, why don't you go into the Riel's character sheet, and why don't you roll computers and science?
So let me check that.
Because that'll be assessing. Lieutenant Shiv is drawing on the thing. So you'll be rolling, if you're drawing on the momentum, roll 4 dice.
Okay. Would he roll 4 dice or me?
You would. So because you're getting the extra dice from spending the momentum. So when you select what you're doing on the task roll, select the number 4 and have, what did I say? Insight and compute and sciences.
Science. Okay.
Okay.
And do I need to roll with him or before him? Or
either time is fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Nice. Oh, we got a complication. Nice. Whoa! Oh, that second one we ignore. So that is, right now you've got 2 successes that you've rolled, Lieutenant Jiv, and there's 1 more from the computer, from the aid. So you got 3. So you get 3 bits of information. You've also got a complication. So a complication is, I can introduce a trait that's a problem. And actually, I think that because we're sort of using, you're referencing the computers as opposed to referencing using the sensors, for instance. I'm just going to take that as threat for now, and then I can spend the threat later to do different things. If you have a suggestion of 1, 2, like you can make a suggestion for what a complication might be, but typically, if I can't come up with anything or if I don't agree with it, then we just put it as threat. So here's what I can tell you is, for one, this is not going to cost you anything. This is an uncharted system, but it does look like there may have been some general scientific survey data that was taken maybe almost 100 years ago. So you got 3 momentum right now because the difficulty of this was a 0, and you rolled 3 successes total. What do you want to learn more information?
Yeah, let's pull up any of the scientific readings they had to see if anything catches my eye as interesting or potentially hazardous to crew.
So that is a good one. So that'll be 1 for, I think it's gain information. It's the momentum spend. Let me grab my handout.
Okay, so -1.
So you'll have 2 momentum right now.
Mostly because I'm sure our definition of what is hazardous to crew members has changed over the last 100 years.
Yeah,
that might not have been flagged.
Obtain information is how it's phrased in this. So, yes, what you find is it seems as if there is some kind of spatial, temporal anomaly in that system, which might explain why no one bothered to really go and investigate it. If you were to guess, Lieutenant Jiv, there may be a wormhole either present or in a process of forming or collapsing within that system.
Yep, Captain should know about this.
Okay. So Captain Schaefer walks onto the bridge. You've done you still have 2 more momentum. You want to dump that in the pool, or you want to obtain more information?
Yeah. Put it in the pool.
Okay. So Captain Schaefer, you come on board. Someone, I think, says captain on the bridge. And Taval looks over at you from her station. Her little earpiece is in. And she says, Captain, the automated distress signal is continuing. Verified. It originates from a Class M planet in an uncatalogued star system. Captain, the star system seems to be orbiting a spatial anomaly.
See, wonder what my science officer can tell me.
Your science officer is an NPC.
Yep, and that's what I was looking. I've been looking to find out what species it might be.
Oh, yeah.
I've been trying to come up with a decent idea of one.
We don't have an Andorian on the crew.
See, I was thinking Andorian. That was my first gut.
Love
That's
it.
very classic.
Sure. So what's this? And that would be a second character that we're introducing. So your second crew spend. What's this NPC's name?
I don't even know any Andorian.
Oh, it's so Andorian names. I guess male or female?
Female.
So Athidi, Vrivi, Zyle, Vissa, Thriris, Shreri, Vrosan, Itaman, Ishrelia, Vretra.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Ishrelia?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So then Lieutenant Ishrelia. Oop, I put an extra L in front there. It's... I think that's the pronunciation or spelling.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it sounded like. And then what is that thing?
So if she is the science officer, it would mean that her... Let's see here. Because so it's 148 is supporting characters. Assuming that her science is her best value, or sorry, her best score. You're creating a supporting character. We'll assume, I think, her control or her reason, I guess, is probably the best score, right?
Yeah, I would say reason and science.
So it's a 10 and a 4.
Okay.
Okay. So if you'd like her to make a task, give us a roll, I guess, 2d20 against 14. And this is where... Oh, and also, John, why don't you go into the Riel and use sensors and science, please. We'll take the first dice on that.
So 2d20, do I need to make that less than the 14? Is that right? Or just level 2d20?
I don't think that'll work properly that way, because it'll it'll show up. It'll do the total. So that's one success.
Can you do 2 tasks roll?
One dice. Assisting is always 1 dice, and you're rolling against using sensors and science. 2, but the sensors. Oh, and the just like characters, ships can have some traits as well. So the 3 talents that the Riel has are fast targeting system, which doesn't apply right now, improved power systems, which don't really apply right now, and rapid fire torpedo launcher, which also doesn't apply right now. When you get into a scrap, we'll worry about those.
Yeah.
How do you say when? Did I say when? I meant if. I probably meant when. So she rolled, Lieutenant Ishraelia rolled 2 successes. So the base level information is, what is your question for Lieutenant Ishraelia? The
real question is defining the nature of the anomaly. Are we talking about gravitational? Are we talking about, what would be the origin of it? Is it like, can you tell me if it's a black hole, a wormhole,
Okay.
Oh, well, Ziv figured that out.
And how that's going to affect our arriving in system at warp.
Yep.
That's really what I'm worried about right now.
Okay. Sorry, Ziv, do you have something to share?
Oh, yeah, Ziv figured out it was a temporal anomaly.
The Lieutenant Ishraelia says, that's right. Captain, it is a wormhole, but it appears unstable.
As most of them are.
There is one more bit of information she could offer if you'd like to spend that second.
Yeah, is it going to affect us arriving in system at warp? Do we need to arrive further out? What do we need to do as far as addressing it with warp travel?
We should, Captain, so that's your second momentum spend,
yeah.
But these are one of these things where you can repeat it. So, like, you can draw on your momentum pool to get more information. You can also give me threat to gain more information. So she says, Captain, the approach to the planet, if we select a specific approach, it should be safe. However, the wormhole is unstable and seems to be emitting unusual forms of energy.
Ooh.
I expect that as we approach, sensors will be less reliable, and this may also explain why such an old automated signal has not been received until today.
Mm.
You have 2 more momentum in the pool, so if you want to ask any other or obtain any other information.
I think I'm good. I think that's sufficient to understand that it's not gonna, throw us into something if we warp in there. I think we'll be safe enough.
Okay. So one of the other interesting parts of the game is traits can also come from mission-based directives. If you're familiar with Star Trek, you're familiar with the idea of the Prime Directive. The Prime Directive is always at play in it, of non-interference with non-warp capable species. But for this particular adventure also has the directive: seek out new life and new civilizations.
Exactly.
And just like the other traits, it's something that can be used to make things easier, make things harder, or make things possible. So, with that, Captain, any further information? And there is a command structure on the bridge. As players, we can step out of that as well too. So, John, if you've got questions or things like that you want to, talk over out of character, you can do that. The game isn't intended to be like a fucking micromanaging simulator. It's intended to be, reflective of the spirit of the game. No, the role of captain and the seniority and whatnot is part of the setting, but it isn't intended to be a thing that impacts the fun or everyone's participation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Any further questions then?
Don't think so.
All right.
And Captain, you could give your helmsman orders to set course for this unexplored planet.
Navigator, land course, helm, maximum warp.
Okay. The Ziv will get his coordinates going, and he's going to use his own discretion to try to place us in the safest possible area away from the anomaly.
Okay. So as we cut to you guys kind of dropping out of warp and in system, and you can see this planet below you. It has as you can imagine, there is a bit of a tempestuous local climate on account of orbiting a gravitic anomaly or a temporal and spatial anomaly. Turns out that having a moon might affect your tides. Having a wormhole around you will affect your entire climatic system. So it doesn't look like a place you're going to want to vacation at. Now, what you guys can do is, this is a reason and science task to investigate from orbit, and you can use the sensors and science to assist with this. Would you guys like to scan the planet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely
sure.
short range scan.
Okay, so then supporting characters can make use of advantage or momentum the same way that player characters can. You guys have introduced Lieutenant Israelia, so I'm assuming you're going to want her to do the scan, or would one of you like to do that?
Probably not me. I don't know about John.
And which roles were it again?
It would be using reason and science.
I think I can do the scan.
Okay. So just to, again, the purpose of having the support characters, if your total is less than 14, then she might be better equipped to do that. Like, part of the reason of having these support characters is they're your characters, like they're part of your crew, and even over the course of play, as you advance, you actually get to change them and develop them, and they can even become the character. Like, if there's a session where your particular character doesn't happen to play in as strongly, or there's a scene where your character doesn't play in strongly, you just step in the role of a supporting character. You play Dennis, or you play, Australia, or whatever other one you introduce for it. The intent is for you to be able to constantly be in the game and just maximize your chances of success with that. If you think Jiv would be the one to do the scan, that's absolutely possible too. But if you want to try and rely on a science officer, you can rely on the science officer's better stats and still be playing the character.
Okay. Well, yeah, she's got a bit better stats than I do in that, so
okay,
we can do that.
Sure. So, John, why don't you? You're going to be rolling. So again, it'll be 2d20 to start. You guys can spend momentum to increase that pool. And Will, why don't you roll the Malachowski's sensors and science?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yep.
Go ahead and spend 1 momentum to get a 3d20.
You got it. Okay. So roll 3d20. It's 14 or less. And this is something too where if we think there is a focus that she would have, because when you make the character, you pick 3 focuses for her to have, and let me go to the list of focuses here. So for instance, you might say, well, because she's sort of constantly going to be operating the sensors, then maybe she'll have a specialty of sensor operations, or focus of sensor operations. If you think that's reasonable, we just put it on her character sheet. And then what that means is her science is a 4, so any roll of a 4 or less would count as 2 successes. Does that make sense, how we're going from concept of the character into putting some meat on it?
Right.
So if you agree with it, then that's actually 4 successes you just rolled.
Nice.
Okay, and 2 more from the ship. So right now, you guys are sitting on 6 successes. So the difficulty of that was a 1, which means there is 5 momentum that you can spend to gain information, to obtain information.
Must be proximity to the planet that gave us a better reading. Temporal anomaly threw the sensors off.
Absolutely. All right, so let me give you a couple ones for that I'll spend for you, and then you guys tell me when you want to slow down. For one, what you guys recover. This is without having to spend momentum. It appears that there is a debris field on the planet, and material scans suggest that the debris field is of Romulan origin. Near where this crash site is, as well, there is an old Earth shuttle pod. The shuttle pod appears to be intact, and it is functioning in low power mode. It is the source of the automated emergency beacon. The planet harbors no indigenous intelligent life forms, but there is one human near the crash site.
Ooh, survivor.
If you wish to spend momentum, there may be some more information to gather here.
We could spend one to see if there's any reason we can determine why they just started sending the signal out, like a incoming storm or hazardous danger.
Well, so that one was answered. Now that you're closer in, it confirms your thing. The way that the gravitic anomaly is manifesting, it seems to be interfering with sensors. This thing could have been transmitting for 100 years, and it never managed to escape the planet because of the anomalies. What I will tell you, though, for your spends, you have 4 momentum left. The planet's surface suffered recent tectonic plate shifts that caused worldwide earthquakes and tsunamis, suggesting that the wormhole appeared near this system only recently. Ongoing volcanic activity has affected both the landscape and climate, cooling much of the world.
First, will we be able to transport down? Is it safe enough to do that with the anomaly in the system?
Let me see here. I think it is safe to transport down.
Okay.
But the difficulty with the sensors not having a communicator to kind of focus the signal would make it challenging to transport this human life sign from the surface up to the Real.
Oh, I was thinking about us transporting down.
Yeah. No, you should. I think.
So we may want to take a shuttle down instead of transporting.
If you wish to spend one more momentum, there might be some. It's difficult. So out of the game, it's difficult. There are like in these pre-generated adventures. I'm using one of the adventures out of the. These are the Voyages volume. It's tricky because if I was playing this and it was adventure I would be much more freeform with the obtain information stuff, but there are certain things where there's information that is locked behind obtain information spends, so it's always clumsy for me to feel like there's more what I can tell you is there's like 4 more bits of information that you guys could learn if you want to spend the obtain information. That's not tapping into your momentum pool right now. You just have the 4 that is generated from your original scan.
Oh.
Do you want to get it all?
Yeah.
Temporal anomalies, with the whole whale thing not too far in the past, that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So we should dig into it.
So the wormhole is unstable at its terminus with anomalous fluctuating gravity readings. So the edge of it is fluctuating and unstable. But that said, there is an object at the center of the wormhole, perhaps a vessel of some kind. Readings are fluctuating. The object appears to be there and then not there in rapid succession. The object is at the epicenter of a strange gravity readings, or the strange gravity readings, and may indeed be the source of it. And it is unclear what the nature of this vessel is. Does not mark, it's certainly not anything that has ever been set out by Starfleet, and it does not correspond to any known alien fleet registry.
Ooh. Interesting.
The landing craft, incidentally, or the sensor, the shuttle pod. This is a shuttle pod consistent with the pre-Federation Starfleet.
Ooh.
It seems to be something from around the era of the Daedalus class vessels or the NX class vessels.
Okay.
So 100-year-old shuttle pod.
I know we found a human life sign down there. Are there any other life signs of like I guess of intelligent life that we can determine? Any signs of a civilization, pre-Stone Age, anything like that? Could I spend a momentum to find that out?
There's been no other signs of life down there. You have not scanned for, like structures or whatnot, but that would include that as well. So no life signs, no signs of like built up civilization.
Okay. What else do we need to spend?
And mechanically, if we want to be clever, that could be a way of using that your directive, new life, new civilizations, to make the task easier, which is sort of retroactively gaining you one more momentum spend.
Man.
How about breathable atmosphere? Is it with the recent volcanic activity? Is there toxins in the air we need to worry about?
There is. It will have a sulfuric smell to it, says Lieutenant Israelia. It is Class M, though, which means habitable for humans.
Okay.
So in the 24th century, there will be changes so that captains are not permitted to be part of landing parties. First officers need to go in. That is not the case in this era.
That's right.
23rd century is Cowboy City. So, Captain, you are certainly free to make up your landing party if that's what you wish to do.
Yeah, definitely. How many? What would be? I mean, is 3, 4? Like what? Me and the lieutenant, and then like the science officer, and maybe a red shirt. Would that be?
Yeah, you can take Dennis. We've already met Warrant Officer Dennis, right? So could be Dennis, you. You could take Lieutenant Jiv down too. Like,
yeah, Jiv and Israelia and Dennis and me.
And if you really want to justify bringing the helmsman down, Lieutenant Jiv's cybernetic eyes can maybe see things that are different from what is being picked up on the tricorders.
Yeah, and Lieutenant Jiv has also got focuses in small crafts, so he's really good at shuttles.
So do I. Good for us.
Yeah, it might be something you guys bonded over, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're a couple of pilot nuts. All right. So the captain stands up. Jiv, come with me. Ensign, you have the con.
It's turns. Captain.
Heads with the lieutenant to the turbo lift.
Oh, yeah, you could bring your doctor as well. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, because if there's a human down there...
Yeah, survivor, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We'll call the doctor from the med bay to meet us in the hangar bay, because we're going to fly down.
Oh, okay, yep. That's a safe bet. And I mean, with 2 experienced comm officers, 2 pilots, if you can get the... Oh, do you want to bring your engineer down in case try and get that shuttlecraft working?
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Okay. So commander guys will come down as well, which is why you've left the ensign in charge.
Right.
Okay. So you are meeting up. I need to refresh. I know that she is quite chatty. I'm just trying to remember what Gaius. The Saurians have a really interesting kind of collective, collectivist kind of species or a culture.
Oh, society.
Yeah. This is one neat thing they've done in second edition as well, is they've subsumed a lot of rules for species just under the one heading, and they leave it to you to judge when it would come up or make sense or whatnot. So like Vulcans, for instance, they're stronger than what the average, human is and whatnot. So that may be a place where the Vulcan trait might come into play. Saurians have keen senses, so likewise that might be something that comes into play, and I think Tellarites do as well in the description of the species. So it's another thing that they trust that you're going to make use of the traits however you feel is appropriate, rather than give you like a comprehensive list of all the modifiers. So
it looks like Gaius is good at a bit like counseling, jury rigging for the damaged shuttle, and he's also got warp field dynamics as a focus. So if something goes wonky with the anomaly, he might be able to help out.
He's also the guy who saved the life of the crew of the Yorktown when it went down for it too. So he's definitely good in a tough situation. If anyone can get this thing flying again, your first officer can get that done, Captain. So they come on when you guys are probably the first ones to the hangar bay. Lieutenant Dennis will, or Officer Dennis will meet you there. Is there a shorter term for warrant officer?
Yeah. Whoa. W-O. Just
whoa. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, yep. Dennis, then. I love that. Okay. Yep. So he arrives as well, too, and he's got that, the sort of like, contact sports uniform on that the security officers have in the movie era. Yeah. I fucking love, like, are you going to play lacrosse or what are you doing here? So Woe Dennis will be one of the first ones down there, and Gaius and Grax come, onto the deck together, and they seem to be talking. Grax says, "I think. So for you, Captain, do you think that her relationship with you is such that calls her by first name or by Captain or by what do you think?"
I think. Let me see here. Let me get an idea of him. She probably calls him Captain. Yeah, okay. I feel that's, very much, yeah.
Okay, Captain. So, Captain, did I hear right that there is a human down there?
That's what the sensor readings show.
And Gaius...
And that's the only real intelligent life that we detected.
And this is Commander Gaius. This is a NX-era shuttlecraft.
Possibly NX or Daedalus.
So Dr. Grax says, so he'd be over 100 years, the human would be over 100 years old then. We're certain they're alive.
There's a temporal anomaly that could be causing issues there.
I see.
There's a ship caught in the center of it, and the shuttle may have come from it.
I see. And Dr. Grax comes over. Sholo, are your eyes causing you any issues with the anomaly? And I don't think so.
No, not at the moment. But I've been protected inside the ship thus far, so. This is sort of a tech thing. The Starship vessels have something called a deflector dish, and what it does is the deflector dish pushes away like micrometeors and other sort of like navigation hazards, but that is different from their deflector shields. Deflector shields are the protective thing that you put up, but because of the power demand of having them up, you don't travel along with shields up all the time. It's also kind of seen when shields go up, it's sort of like a precursor to hostilities. So when you see that, shields up, red alert, shields up, yellow alert, it means that shit may be going down. So it's possible the shields may have gone up at some point to, try and prevent the gravitic anomaly. But because it is an energy matrix, that also might cause problems too and might tax the system. So I've assumed right now, you guys, obviously the deflector dish is active, but the shields are not up, which means that you may still be getting some sense of the, what do you call it? There's another kind of thing that comes up a lot is inertial dampeners. Because the ship travels at such ridiculous speeds, there's devices on the ship that prevent your body from being smooshed or whatnot. Anytime that you see the crew on a TV show being jostled around like that, it's because the inertial dampeners are either malfunctioning or down. Yep.
So,
or overtaxed.
Yeah.
I always think of it as they're overtaxed.
Yeah, exactly, because otherwise, if they failed, you'd be a fucking paste against the back of the ship, probably. So.
Usually. Because impulse power, if I remember impulse power, it's a percentage of C.
Yeah, it's
and so impulse is like quarter impulse. That's a quarter of the speed of light. That's
exactly
ridiculously fast.
Yeah, the impulse,
and you fight in combat with that.
Yeah, Yeah. This is where, like you were talking before, John, about like zipping around asteroids or other kind of like, planetary bodies. That's exactly where you'd be doing that, is at the sublight speed.
If we're going quarter impulse, gravity won't mean much at all to us. It's more like shuttle tactics then.
Yeah. So then,
Yeesh.
that sounds good. So Dr. Grax, Commander Gaius, and Dennis, Woe Dennis, are all, piling on board. I'm assuming what you guys have been equipped with is you got those nifty jackets that you get in the movie era. You also have you are free to take your Type 2 phaser is a standard thing. Communicator is a standard thing. And then there is a kind of a neat, like, you can spend momentum to get devices. Doctors, if you're playing that role, they get their medical tricorder for free, and they get a med kit. The engineer in that role likewise gets an engineering kit for free, so you don't need to spend for that. If you wanted to bring, like, Type 3 phasers or phaser rifles down, that would be something that you'd be spending momentum to get. If you want any other kind of specialized equipment, you would just be spending momentum. It's available, but it's sort of, the momentum is to reflect the unusual nature of it. It's sort of to support the fiction of the source material. So if there is anything else you guys wish, you could free access to tricorders as well. If either of you want to bring a tricorder down with you, that's sort of your your all-purpose scanning device, John. It is used to, like, pick up basically any kind of, scientific anomaly.
Gotcha. Or more to categorize it, like with his cybernetic eyes, he can probably see some weird stuff, but it's not like a tricorder.
Precisely. Yeah.
I think he'll bring one. Because if we get out of the shuttle working, it's a good thing we got 2 pilots. Exactly.
So, yeah, why don't we do this then, guys? We started late today. Why don't we take our mid-session break right now, and then we'll come back in 5 minutes and see how the trip to the surface goes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'll try and answer the questions as well, too, when I get back as well. So apologies for missing those.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Matthew, thank you so much. That was very generous of you. Okay, let's see here. The Archer, I think you've sorted out what's happened. Yeah, we were down a player, so we often, if we're not able to play the game that we had intended to play, we just play a pickup game of something that also got prepped or that we've got something we find interesting. Morning, Alice still. And let's see here. One of the reasons I love Star Trek is how the other races are ugly to me, but they may seem like the human race is ugly to them. Yeah, agreed. There's a great bit actually in a 40K thing where one of the Eldar talking to one of the humans who they were allied with was getting a little annoyed with the human and then says, "You must understand that the way you view the orcs, that's how we view you. So I'll take my frustration as reaching the limit of my patience with you." I have a Cadian science specialist. Oh, nice. Thanks, Archer. That's great. Yeah, thanks, everybody. Hope you guys are having, and thanks again, Matthew. That's very generous of you. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend otherwise. All right, now I want to make sure I know what's happening on the surface.
There's absolutely nothing going on down there.
What was that, Will?
I said there's absolutely nothing going on down there.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. It may not surprise you to learn that the surface of the planet is going to look either like a soundstage from the 1960s, or it'll look like somewhere just outside of LA.
That's what I tried.
Okay. Let's see.
See, I've got the damn book. I just don't know where it is.
Which one? The new one?
The original, I think, the Star Trek rule book.
Oh, for Star Trek Adventures or for the Facile one?
Star Trek Adventures. I think I've got the first edition. I just don't know where it is.
Yeah. I'm really happy with the way the second edition has come together. It's one of those editions where it really feels like they did make a concerted effort to make an even better play experience than what the first edition was. Not the first edition was bad, but like there was a couple of clunky things in it that I'm glad to see them jettison. Speaking of jettisoning, so the shuttle pod, Lieutenant Jiv, I believe you will be at the helm here. And where is my screen? Because I think I want to make this interesting with a threat spend. So the 5 of you pile into the shuttlecraft. Do you have a name for this shuttlecraft? I know that the ones on the Enterprise were named after astronomers, but each vessel has a different thing. I will tell you the Malachowski class tends to be named after either First Nations or American Indian or other kind of indigenous leaders. The Riel is named after the Métis political leader who was the father of the Canadian province of Manitoba. The Riel also, Will and John, is what the vessel we played in the last Star Trek session, but it was set in the Next Generation era. So this is our second version of the Riel we've seen in this, setting.
Let's see here. I would think, excuse me, the class of the ship is named after the first female Thunderbird pilot, which is the Air Force's flight demonstration team. So yep. I'm thinking maybe like famous female aviators.
Love it. Yeah.
So, it could be
Earhart.
Yeah,
love it. Well, I'm on the same page. Love it.
Yep.
I just watched last week the episode of Voyage where they find Amelia Earhart.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so it's the Earhart that I'm going to write that down. that you will be piloting, Lieutenant. So, this would normally be a relatively routine task, a difficulty 2, but I am going to spend some threat to create a trait that is, let's call it electromagnetic storm. This will increase the difficulty by 1 more. So, Lieutenant, you are at the helm of this shuttlecraft, and shuttlecraft are basically given the same kind of stats as what vessels are, so you may be able to get assistance from it. Let me just find the stats for the shuttlecraft. It'll be, I think, for you to safely bring this down to the surface, Lieutenant, it will be a con. And I don't know, what do you think? Daring? Well, oh, you are muted, John, so toast to Mo.
Yes, daring sounds good. It's not my best stat, but this sounds like something daring to do to fly into the storm.
Nice. Now, do you have a focus that you think might apply?
I got small crafts.
Yep.
And I don't think evasive action.
So
play if it's like dodging.
One focus.
Lightning?
Oh, you mean like your talent evasive action? Or do you mean your focus?
Focuses.
Like, yeah, there is. So a focus. You either have a focus that applies or don't. They don't like stack.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just offering one or the other.
Oh yeah, I would buy either of those definitely. So
let's if we're going daring, let's go evasive action for the focus.
Okay. So then click on, so you're starting with 2 dice. There's 1 momentum in the pool. You can give me more threat if you'd like more. The difficulty currently is a 3.
Okay. Would that be complication range? Or no? Oh, I need 3 successes. Okay.
So let me give you some examples here
of
what you might do. So assuming that the captain, because he likes flying ships too, is probably in the navigator seat or the passenger seat. What you could do, for instance, because I've introduced a trait here, and it's fucking Star Trek, you could be like, I'm adjusting, the thrust to compensate for the electromagnetic thing. Mechanically, what you're doing is trying to address that trait. So someone could be doing that's probably a reason and engineering check. Difficulty 2, if you succeed on that, you remove the trait. You could do that instead of thing. Then it's not just a matter of getting 1 extra dice roll. You just have compensated for the electromagnetic storm. You're not going to have that difficulty.
Sure.
You could also, you've got the thing too, Lieutenant Jiv, when you are piloting a vessel, where is it here? When you use a swift momentum spend, you don't increase the difficulty of the second task if it's when it's piloting a vessel. So you could actually do that yourself. It'll cost you 2 momentum to do the second task.
I think we've only got the 1, though.
But remember, you can give me as much threat as you want on a 1-for-1.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how my threat pool gets bigger, right? Is you guys spend it. And that's an expected part of the game. I don't get to spend momentum until you do that. So what you could do...
Let's do that. That sounds good. Give you more toys to play with.
Sure. So first thing then, and the reason I suggest you doing it, Jiv, is because remember, you got that other ability where you use con in place of engineering when you're doing it a vessel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you give us, this will be a reason and con check against difficulty 2. You can give me, you got 1 momentum in the pool, which looks like you took, so you're rolling 3 dice then. Do you want to give me any threat to get extra dice, or you think 3 dice will be good enough?
I think 3 should be good.
And I think one of your focuses, your small craft, would apply for this particular one, where you're your hands are flying across the dash trying to compensate for this negative trait. So if you're comfortable with 3, go ahead and give us a roll.
Boom.
Look at that. Beautiful. All right, so you got 2 momentum on that. So you have compensated for the electromagnetic storm. 2 momentum goes back in the pool, or you can spend that 2 immediately to take your secondary action.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So now you're rolling against a difficulty of 2. Captain, would you like to assist your helmsman?
Well, before he spends that momentum,
Yeah.
it says I can do what's called direct, which means I spend one momentum, select one ally on the bridge, who immediately attempts a single major action.
Yeah.
And I assist them by rolling 1d20 with command and control.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be a way to bank that momentum, to save one momentum?
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah. If you want to spend it. And what do you think so to spend determination, you do need to, basically justify it through use of one of your values?
No, it says momentum. Spend one momentum.
Didn't it say determination? Hold on. Where is it here?
This is on the Starship Command and Communication Actions
Oh,
page.
okay. Hold on. Yeah. Then let me take a look at that. That's awesome. I could be totally wrong. And probably am. So, let's see. Direct spend one. Yeah, absolutely. You could do that. So, Jiv has, kind of spread. Are you okay with that, Jiv?
Yeah.
Okay.
Control.
Following orders is something instilled in Jiv, so.
Okay.
And it says I'm rolling 1d20. So is that on the task roll? Would I make that a 1?
Basically, yeah. It's as if you're assisting. Just make one dice against control and command.
Okay. There we go.
One extra success. So then, Jiv, would you go ahead now? You're going to make your piloting check that we were going to do before. The what is it? Daring and con. And Captain Schaefer is assisting you with that.
Okay, and so 2 dice or 3?
2 dice to start with. If you want to, there's one momentum in the pool. If you want to make it 3.
Nah, I'm using my focus. I think we'll be good.
Okay. So even if you do succeed, remember, when you get more successes, all it does is feed back in. And if you're rolling with something with a focus, you're more likely to get a extra thing. So it's oftentimes better to try, with extra dice than it is to just go for the bare minimum.
Okay.
Because momentum will always feed forward, right? So even if you don't spend it, it goes back in the pool. You got it there for next time.
Okay.
So,
well, I already rolled.
Yeah, so you've got it, and also with the captains, as that's actually one momentum that's in here. So,
it was a 1 instead of the 2.
Yeah. So here's what you could do is, so you spent the 1 to get the thing going, but from this task, when you aided, you rolled 1 success. Jiv rolled 2 successes. You only needed 2, which means you got 1 momentum from this task in landing the shuttlecraft.
Cool. Which is it 2 then?
You could put it in 2, or you could do something like obtain information. Now that you're closer in, maybe there's something you can spy. Or you can make
what do your robot eyes detect?
Oh yeah, let's do some cybernetic perception to see if there's anything the storm was hiding from our sensors.
So as you're going down, you can now more clearly see the side of the shuttlecraft, and what is listed on there. The vessel or the name of the shuttlecraft was. It's quite damaged, but. So the thing is scoured off. It does appear that the shuttlecraft is fairly heavily damaged, and what you can see with your cybernetic eyes, Jiv, is there is also radiation that is consistent with the atomic weaponry and phase-modulated energy of the cannons of the Earth-Romulan War.
Oof.
So that's 110 years ago, give or take.
Oh, and it's still, fresh?
And what you see on there, on the side, it references the starship Atlantis. If you want to spend one more momentum, we'll assume you looked into what the NX, things are.
Yes.
It is a NX class vessel that was believed lost with all hands aboard during the Earth-Romulan War. The Enterprise from the TV series Enterprise is an NX series. So, John, if you want to picture in your mind what it looks like, it's that the two nacelles with the one dish thing, and that's it. So that's what the Atlantis would be. Missing for over a century. You
I
bring
will
the shuttlecraft
communicate that.
down to a landing. As soon as you guys step out the back, there is the sulfuric stink of soot in the air, but it's not, while unpleasant, it's not dangerous by any means. What do you guys do? There's the shuttlecraft there, and it is most certainly an alien environment. There are broken trees around the shuttlecraft. There is Romulan debris that you had detected from orbit near the shuttlecraft as well.
Can we ascertain just from this far away whether the shuttle's recoverable or not?
You have to
Or do
get
we need to
in
get closer?
and take a look. If you want to spend a momentum, you could take a reading with your tricorder, or you could make a check for it. Like, one of the things you can always do is, if you want to gather information, you're basically rolling against a 0. The only risk you have is a complication, right? If you roll a 20, there's a complication. And another interesting thing about the thing is, you can, depending on the tension of the situation, you can increase the complication range. So typically a complication only occurs in a 20, but in a more tense situation, could be a 19 or 19 or 20, or an 18 or 20, so forth.
So Ziv will look at the captain and says, "Sir, Captain, perhaps you and the doctor should find the survivor. Commander Gaius and I will inspect the shuttle."
Very well, Doctor.
She gets out her medical tricorder and begins scanning.
There appears to be some initial radiation, so from Romulan War.
Yeah. Gaius makes a scan and says, it does not appear, or maybe actually it would be Dr. Grax. I am picking up radiation, but it appears to be at safe level. Now, one thing to remind, too, Dr. Grax is Betazoid. So she is also telepathic.
Telepathic, right?
Yeah. Troy was empathic because she was half.
Because she was half.
Yeah. So, Captain Schaefer and Dr. Grax will be going in search of this human life sign. Lieutenant Jiv and Gaius will be going to the shuttlecraft. Where do we want to start, guys?
Let them start with the shuttlecraft. That sounds more interesting right now from a dramatic sense.
So, you and Gaius are approaching the shuttlecraft. Anything you wish to do as... I think Commander Gaius might say to you that this thing seems to have been in a heck of a fight.
Yeah, it does. I wonder if the engines are intact, or if it's possible to recover.
So,
And
why...
I assume the shuttles have this little core of their own that keeps them running. If that's compromised, we're not moving this thing.
Okay. So Gaius could make an insight and engineering check, if you'd like.
Insight,
and you got 1 momentum right now, so you could spend that to get it. Roll 3 dice.
Let's see. What is troubleshooting come into play here?
For focus?
Yeah.
Yeah, I buy that. Yep.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and spend the momentum.
Okay.
Tack that up to a 3 task roll then.
Okay.
That to 0. See what he gets.
Ooh, complication.
Yeah.
All right. So, what he picks up is the...
Love one of his values is sometimes you just have to improvise.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it really gives does a good job of sort of like informing personality for the characters, and lets you like make those more role-playing things have clear mechanical consequence. It's pretty cool. I think I'm going to bank that because I don't really have something that's going to happen with that complication. But the damage is extensive. It is something that you... If the Malachowski, I keep saying that because of the, I'm going to change I keep seeing it, and I really shouldn't have put that in the fucking name because I'm going to keep doing it. There we go. The Riel. So if the Riel came into low orbit, you may be able to grab this thing with the tractor beam, but this thing, the nature of the damage to it has effectively not only depleted the engines but also caused damage. We could get it working, but it'll take a considerable amount of time to get this done. This thing seems to have been, again, in a hell of a fight.
And I imagine the descent with the storm didn't help at all either, if it was recent.
Well, this is curious. What I will give you with the success, the debris is only 6 years old.
Oh.
The debris that is here and around the shuttlecraft is only 6 years old, but this vessel is over a century old.
So, shoot. They did jump through time. Okay. Wonder if there's anything we could ascertain from the maybe we'll get into the ship, see if there's any logs, if it's been here 6 years. Maybe
Sure.
the survivor recorded what happened to the ship.
Guys, there is why I complained about the block text or the regimented obtain information stuff in the game. There is the one upside that we do have some block text.
Yay!
The Romulan vessel crashed in what appears to be a once forested valley, now jagged landscape where slabs of rock jut upward and limbless trees stand at unnatural angles, hanging on even as the land shifted beneath them. Fallen trees litter the uneven ground, and twisted, blue-barked seedlings sprout from their carcasses. Several volcanoes smoke in the distance, filling the sky with ash. The sun is a cold yellow disk in the ash clouds. The small, furry-tailed animals, each with one red eye, scurry about, while brightly colored, beetle-like creatures the size of a human hand dart from rock crevices. They have four-pronged pincers snapping. Not much remains of the Romulan ship beyond huge chunks of charred hull covered in a blanket of strange blue-tinted moss, which appears to be one of the few plant species thriving. The pre-Federation shuttle pod rests nearby, its roof and sides thick with bluish moss, except around the door, which has been cleared in patches, as if removed by hand. Do you wish to go inside the shuttlecraft? Or shuttle pod?
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll leave Lieutenant Jiv and Commander Gaius going inside. Captain, you and the Doctor are going round. The scans from orbit indicate that the human life sign is not far from the site of the shuttlecraft. What would you like to do?
Let's see here. Let's see. I think the captain's going to turn to the Doctor and say, do you sense any thought processes nearby?
So that is an awesome use of one of the Betazoid qualities. So she has an ability called Open Book. When a character enters a scene, she can spend one momentum to immediately ask me one question about the character's current emotions or surface thoughts. So you don't have any momentum, but you can give me threat to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do.
Okay.
Let's see, where is that?
Okay. I've adjusted the threat, so I got 7.
Oh, okay.
All right. So she is walking along, and she places the the little like scanner dealy bobby on top of the medical tricorder again, and does the I don't think she needs to touch her head, but I really cannot picture people using sci-fi telekinesis without or telepathy. She does that, and then kind of, Captain, he is nearby. He can see us. He is extremely agitated, and he is in an extreme state of paranoia that, Captain, I believe he's under the influence of some psychoactive compound. His thoughts are erratic and exceptionally paranoid.
Let's see. Yeah, let's do that. Let me make some sort of check, kind of just calling out to him. So I think the captain says, "My name is Captain Schaefer of the USS Real of the United Federation Planets. We mean you no harm. We're simply investigating the distress signal that we received."
Okay. Why don't you give us... So that'll be, I think, a... what is... Oh, wrong book. Command? Presence and command, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, and then let's see.
You want to give me some threat for some extra dice?
You've already got one, damn it, Madison. Yeah, sure. I'll take one momentum, get one extra die on it.
You got it. Okay.
So that changed that task roll to a 3.
Yeah, to give you context, the highest my momentum pool has, or my threat pool has gone in any one of these games was in a Conan game where we exceeded 50.
Wow.
But it goes, like, as soon as we got into a big fight, it goes quick because I have to use it for all of my adversaries, right? This game does a neat thing where certain adversaries will come in with threat, so, I don't have to worry about, like, relying on you guys spending a bunch of momentum and me saving it like a crazy person. But, yeah, so, like, to give you a context of what's too much, don't worry about it. Like, you and spending momentum, getting threat, it's what makes fun things possible. So, go ahead and give us your check. Do you think there's a focus that would apply?
I looked at my focus. He's got negotiation, but I don't think I'm to that point yet.
Okay.
I think that would be maybe the next point is kind of to negotiate with him. But just right now, just trying to present, hey, we're here. It's okay to come out. We're not trying to hurt you or anything. Okay.
So as he staggers out, what you see is he is wearing a uniform that you probably have only read about. Like a Schaefer, we've talked about as being a Starfleet brat. So, your grandfather, if your grandfather was part of, or maybe great-grandfather, depending on the generations, if your family's been in Starfleet since the, initial, Enterprise mission era, you would recognize the blue with kind of like, violet piping uniform that is distinctive from that era. This person staggers out. His uniform, what's left of it, is ragged and torn. His hair and beard are long and tangled, and he's got a wild look in his eye. And he looks out and he looks at your uniform, and you can see that he is looking down at your uniform and looking up at you. You were Starfleet?
Yes.
Is the war over?
Yes. The war is definitely over.
He looks over at Dr. Grax. Dr. Grax has as much of a placid look as he can. What ship are you from?
I am the commanding officer of the USS Real.
Real. I don't... Were you tasked with your uniforms? Did Starfleet change their uniforms?
A lot of things have changed since you've been down here. How long have you been
Dr.
here?
Grax kind of puts her hand on you and she's like, Captain, careful. He has a concealed weapon. He looks over at her and she said it quiet enough, I think, and you guys are far enough away that he wouldn't necessarily have heard that. What do you mean changed? Did we win? Did we beat those Romulans?
We came to a truce.
Truce. So for historical background, there was a truce, and one of the things that's interesting about the Romulans, and forgive me, John, if you know this stuff already, if I'm repeating, the Romulan War, while the Romulans did technically appear in the Enterprise series, humans didn't see a Romulan until the era of the original series. And it wasn't, the thing that was shocking about the original series reveal of it is they looked so much like Vulcans. The treaty that was negotiated at the end of the Earth-Romulan War was negotiated over subspace radio.
Yep.
So they never saw one another until that time. They didn't know what the Romulans actually looked like.
Interesting.
So you're absolutely right. And at this point, there has been actually, by the time of this adventure, there have been cultural exchanges with the Romulans, an effort to try and do exchanges, including setting up the diplomatic mission at Nimbus 3.
Yeah, that's
the Planet of Galactic Peace from the very best Star Trek movie.
Yes,
Star Trek V, the final frontier.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. This is a non-second. There's a YouTuber named Steve Shives who does some great Star Trek content. He did a series recently on like Star Trek V is not as bad as you remember it, and honestly, like it was one of the ones I saw as a kid. I fucking unironically love that film. There's so many stupid things about it, but I absolutely love that film. One of the biggest things I hear people compliment about is the relationship between Kirk, Spock, and Bones. 100%. The character work on it
really
is so good. Like I love the little bits of like Chekhov and Sulu being lost. Don't tell them we're lost. We'll never live it down.
Never live it down. The helmsman and the navigator lost.
Exactly. The Scotty's little one-liner of like, I know this ship like the back of my hand, and then gonks his head in. Oh my gosh. It's all stuff I'm sure that people who don't like the film didn't like about it, but it's stuff that I find extremely endearing. I also love, what's his name? The villain of the piece, Cybok. The
guy, Spock's brother.
Awesome performance in that. Like, that's what an interesting character who doesn't want to just do bad shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's a really interesting drive behind that character, and it's a really good performance. And a character who evolves in time too. We see someone making a mistake, and the character we meet throughout the series, the decision he makes at the end of it is consistent with that character. So it doesn't feel like a out of left field, like, wait, why the fuck is he doing this now? So I'm going to rewatch that today, I think. I'm going to rewatch Star Trek V. So anyway, getting back to this. So this guy does seem to be a little agitated. That's the context for the relationship between the Federation and the Romulans at this point. What do you choose to do next? I think this one's going to be a task roll to try and... Actually, here, what I'll do to give it meat, I'm going to spend some threat. He's got a trait of chemical paranoia. Remember, she said that he thinks that he's under the influence of some psychoactive substance, right?
Right.
And actually, I'll make it 2 to make it more interesting.
Okay. So let's see. What could I? Well, I'm trying to convince him to tell me how long he's been here.
Yeah, and like, it doesn't mean that this is one of these ones that just would make things more challenging, right? I set the difficulty at first at 3 because he is pretty paranoid. The extra 2 would then jack up that difficulty right now to a 5.
Damn.
Not impossible, because you can roll 5 dice and you can get assistance. And like, you know, Dr. Grax is telepathic, so that's one of those things where her telepathic skills might, you know, assist. And John, speaking of the extra characters too, this is a situation where you'd probably be rolling for Dr. Grax in this situation.
Okay.
Because she's an NPC, so, you know, if you're rolling assist or you're taking advantage of any of her abilities, you just take over the character for the time being. Captain, what do you wish to do? Or Doctor, any suggestions? And I'll put that trait down in chat.
I imagine that her medical kit comes with chemicals to help alleviate those kind of drugs or chemical imbalances.
Absolutely. Yep, she could use a reason and medicine check with her med kit to try and address that trait. It would be a difficulty 4 to get rid of it altogether, but even she could, like, with 2, she could improve it. With 4, she could get rid of it altogether.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you said reason and...
But she, well, the thing is, that would be, this is in the era of hypo spray. So there's a thing you know, kind of, so you would need to get close enough to be able to administer it. But what you could do this wouldn't address the trait, but this is sort of like, I don't want to get too much into the traits, but you can sort of conduct a medical scan to prepare for that, to like prepare the compound. So if you want to make a check, Dr. Grax, you could roll, I think it would be insight and medicine against a difficulty of 2, because what you're trying to do is to like synthesize the counteragent for this chemical influence he's under.
That might bring in her emergency medicine focus?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to give me any threat to increase your dice pool, or you want to roll 2?
Yeah, let's go with 1.
Okay.
Okay. And let's give that a go. Yeah.
Nice! Okay, so that is 2 successes on that. So yeah, you've got, now it's going to be, the chemical paranoia is still at a 2, but you've got a trait that'll counteract one of those. So you've got a prepared compound. The difficulty would only be 2 once the hypo, so you've got like your hypo ready. You're telepathic, so you could communicate that to Dr. Schaefer in his mind.
Yeah, she says she's identified the substance and has a solution if she can get close.
Okay.
Captain.
So now he's really kind of trying to, I guess, trying to not pacify, but just relax him. So I think probably, I mean, we're probably in some sort of clearing of some sort. I think he's looking for a place where maybe they could just kind of sit down. And so it's like, why don't we sit down and I can tell you what all has happened since you've been gone.
Okay. So right now, with the chemical paranoia, you're looking at a difficulty 5 for this. Okay. So, Dr. Grax, I think you can, if you got a way to assist with this, you can certainly...
Well, if he's from 100 years ago, he might not know about the abilities that Dr. Grass has telepathically, so she could try to influence his mind a little bit to help counteract the drug.
Like trying to, it's just, that's a good question. I am trying to think if, like, it's typically, for betazoids at least, it's typically frowned upon to force someone else's mind into compliance. So it's not a typical thing they do with telepathy, but...
It sounds like a value instigate.
But she's a good bad influence.
I'm a good bad influence.
Yeah, you know what? Here, I think that is challenging your first do no harm thing. If this person is psychologically unstable right now due to however long this person's been here, plus a psychoactive substance, so I'd give you a free determination for that. If you just want to spend determination automatically with that, That'll give you with your good bad influence, you'd be that's how you spend the determination. That gives you 2 successes already.
Okay.
Because of your influence. So that's fucking awesome. And then you'd cross off first do no harm, and then what would happen at the end of the adventure, we'd look at that, examine that, and determine whether or not that was something that you would change, or whether it would be a value that you put back in as a result of, however things went. Okay. So you got 2 successes from her assistance already, Captain. Do you want to give me any threat, or do you want to spend any determination yourself?
Yeah, I think I've got a determination, but I got to figure out how the value, because that's how you do it, right? I have to figure out how it interacts with my values.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think probably the Starfleet is a promise. It's going to interact with that because we're, granted, time dilation. We're both members of Starfleet. You know, we both have an oath. We both have a dream of a better tomorrow.
Yep.
And so that's what he's going to interact with his values.
Love it. So you would need to spend determination, you have to spend 1 momentum to get an extra dice, but that one counts as a 1. So you rolled a 1, you've got an automatic 2 more successes. Right now you are rolling 2 dice. You can, so I'm just going to give myself the 1 threat because that's what you'd have to spend that from.
Yeah.
You're rolling 2 dice against command, and you are looking for 1 success. Or what is it? We said command and presence, right?
Yeah, command and presence, and then I've got to focus in negotiations, so that can help too.
I buy that. And then, if you want to roll an extra dice, it would cost you 2 threat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Because I really want to talk this dude down. He seems like he's teetering.
Yeah.
I'm really just like, hey man, it's cool. Let's go sit down.
And you can always get those extra momentum spends too. So if you get excess stuff, it just improves the quality of the success or whatever else. Or you could deal with that chemical paranoia. Like if you roll enough, maybe you calm him down, and it's his agitated heart rate or whatever that's causing it to accelerate. Or he may just allow the doctor to administer the thing. So you're rolling 3 dice.
3 dice.
All you need is 1 success more. And there you go. So that is 1 momentum you got from this. So
let's see here. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I say for now, what you're doing is, I think with that 1 momentum, what's your minor action? It's a major action for you to get someone else to do something, right?
Oh yeah, let me go check my command actions.
So those are typically aboard the starship, but there's also the personal actions as well. It's weapon qualities. I love these. So these are the things I scanned in are just these guys here. It's the little handouts that come with the GM screen.
Yeah, that's what I've opened. I think all of them.
Oh, nice!
Because I was like, that is really going to help me.
Absolutely. Well, let's prepare. You know what? What if you just administered it? Take the. It would be 1 extra task. So, like, you could maybe reach to Dr. Grax. She could hand you the hypo, and with the extra action, just apply that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works.
All right. So there's the distinctive hissing sound with the application of the hypo, and he is. You can see his eyes kind of double blink, and the level of agitation, the wildness in his eye just substantially decreases. And you're seeing more of what, like you said, the Starfleet member is. What do you say to him to get him to calm down?
Let's see here. We are on a mission of exploration. That's part of who we are as Starfleet. And we discovered this distress signal. So we came here and found you. Now, who are you? What is your name?
I'm Lieutenant John Kearney, sir. Armory officer for the Atlantis.
Excellent. Lieutenant, how did you end up here on this planet?
The Atlantis had engaged a Romulan bird of prey, and before the crew, their crew could activate their self-destruct mechanism, he's assuming that during the Earth-Romulan War, that's what they would always do, so that you would never, recover them.
Yeah, that's how we never knew what they looked like.
We thought that in the torpedo bay, we were cheering, because we thought that's... you know how the war's been. It was unseemly to be cheering for people to be burning up in an atmosphere, but we found that there were whole segments of the hull that were strewn as debris over 100-kilometer distance, and Captain Suarez sent us to the surface to try and salvage what we could to help in the war effort. After a thorough investigation of it, we found no salvageable technology, but when we returned to the shuttle, the ground began to quake, and that volcano, which we had thought dormant, erupted. Its ash blocked out the sun, and we found our shuttle on its side, thrusters damaged. We retreated inside to transmit our report to the Atlantis and request immediate assistance, but he got no answer. We spent the night holed up, battered by weather and eruptions and war quakes. We managed to get the shuttle righted, but from what we can gather, the Atlantis has disappeared. If she had to break orbit, the captain would have found a way to let us know. So we think that, or thought, she had been destroyed by another bird of prey. They've only revealed themselves to strike.
Mm-hmm.
Ensign Bowman thought that he could repair the shuttle's thrusters to get us back to orbit, but then he died. I found him outside, covered in this, he gestures at the blue moss, which seemed to be eating him alive. There was nothing we could do to save him. The shuttle pod couldn't leave the planet, and using gloves from the EVA suit, Ensign Crane tried to take shifts to clear the moss. And then he died. Crane cut his arm while hunting one of the single-eyed rodents that we've been subsiding on. The moss must have gotten the wound, and you kind of see he's got that 1,000-yard stare. The moss ate him from the inside out. As best I can guess, it's been years that I've been here.
Yes, it seems like it has been several years.
If it's been several years, the truce. We're not at war.
No, we're not currently at war. We have established a neutral zone along our borders that we don't go in and they don't go in, and that maintains the peace. We have started to open up diplomatic relations with them.
With the Romulans? How many years have I been here, Captain?
That's a really good question that we're trying to figure out. I think the next thing the captain does is he pulls out his communicator.
Okay.
And he calls to, probably calls Commander and says, do not, under any circumstances, interact with the blue moss.
Okay. So you guys have stepped inside the vessel. Both of you look at one another. You look around in the shuttlecraft. Doesn't appear to be it, but you know it's sort of surrounded, other than that open door.
Understood, Captain.
So he turns back to, he says John, what was his last name?
John Kearney.
Kearney, yes. Lieutenant Kearney, it appears that you have been influenced by some form of temporal anomaly in space. What seems like 6 years to you has been over a century back on Earth.
Yeah, I can tell you it is, the exact is about, the Earth-Romulan War ended in 2160.
2160, I was thinking 50.
2156 to 2160. I believe I said it was 2287 is our current year.
That's 127 years.
Yeah. So, forgive me, what he said, you told him how much time?
What appears to be 6 years from your perspective, because of this temporal anomaly, is closer to almost 130. 127 to be precise. Years have passed back on Earth.
You can hear Dr. Grax's voice in your mind once again. Careful, Captain. And you can see his eyes are sort of, once again, darting around as if he's trying to process this stuff. And you can hear the boop from the communicator as well.
Okay.
It's Lieutenant Taval. Lieutenant Taval. Captain, the Lieutenant Australia has detected that the wormhole has inexplicably grown. There are immense gravitational forces being generated by the anomaly, and the Riel is beginning to be pulled out of orbit.
Okay.
And Lieutenant Kearney looks up at you at that and says, "Your ship. That must have been what happened to the Atlantis."
It's entirely possible. Stand by for transport. So we're going to get back to the shuttle bay, or to the shuttlecraft. So he hollers back at Lieutenant Zial. We need to leave now. Meet us at the shuttle.
Okay.
And he'll tab back and says, Roger, the shuttle's not salvageable. We'll be there quickly.
So with the bunch of you running for the shuttlecraft, I believe this is where our, music would swell and we'd get ready for our commercial break because our session's over.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Guys, what do you think of Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition?
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, since it's mostly new to me, it's like just learning how to get everything rolling. But it's a lot more freeform, and I like that. So
yeah, it feels the thing I loved about the first edition, and I love even more about this one, is this feels fucking Trek to me. Mm-hmm. Like this is the kind of stuff that Trek's about. Is about the investigation and exploring stuff and whatnot, and the weird quasi-scientific resolutions to things.
Yeah,
love it.
I mean, I like the human element.
Definitely.
Having interaction with this character and listening to him tell his story and trying to figure it out and what we're going to do. So yeah.
Absolutely, and it's neat seeing the.
Picture.
Oh, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Picture what we could see, after the commercial break is trying to get away from the wormhole or punching through it and destabilize it and save the other vehicle.
Yeah, that's going to be the next thing. Is we got to see if we can save the Atlantis. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, because theoretically, there could still be people there, and they're just fundamentally trapped in space, but they're not dead.
Yeah. Use Commander Gaius to jury rig a photon torpedo to destabilize the anomaly.
It's something that's just so
Flying
fucking
through it.
great about tracking about this particular game is that it really does support that kind of stuff of like, okay, let's figure
Right.
out what the game mechanics are for that. Love it. It's just thanks. So first off, a big thank you to the players for jumping into a brand new game in a session, and you guys have introduced two memorable members of the crew as well. So what we would do is we've used for the adventure technically 2 crew. There's still the option to add 2 more crew members this adventure to to the crew. But for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this Maiden Voyage with Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition. This was I really, really enjoyed this. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, or the adventure, I should say, or the game we're playing, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There's also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have channels dedicated to most of the games you run on the channel. I don't think we have a Star Trek one, because we don't really run it all that often, or have not at least thus far. There's also a link down below to our friends at, or in addition, I should say, to those. There's also like a Find It group. There's a GM discussion. There's virtual tabletop chat. There is a great community that has built up over the years over there, and you are more than welcome to join us. There's also a link down below to our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs in North America, including a wide variety of Star Treks. Whether your brand is FASA Trek, Decipher Trek, Last Unicorn Trek, or the 1st edition Star Trek, they have many of those available at Noble Knight Games, in addition to the new board games, card games, and role-playing games that they have on offer. If you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code MuserMashup, all caps, all one word. It's in the description down there. You'll save yourself 10% on your purchase, and you will also, that'll change, I should say, at the end of September. So if you're listening to this after that time, September 2024, come back to one of our more recent videos. You'll find what the discount code is there. They also have an extensive catalog of hard-to-find and out-of-print games, and if something is listed there that is not in stock, you can put it on a want list, and they'll send you an email when it comes in. They do their buying of secondhand stuff based on the want list, so they'll try to find it for you if they don't have it in stock. There's also a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages, which is the charity fundraising campaign we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really incredible organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children. All donations through that link go directly to them. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. Just goes to benefit the kids who are serviced by SOS Children's Villages International. And as a small way of saying thank you, we have a series of mashup games that we are running between now and the end of year. And if you donated $25 or more through the charity, then you'll be able to vote on the makeup of those. These mashup sessions are taking classic modules or campaigns and running them with games that they are not designed to be played with. We have played a Expedition to the Barrier Peaks game with Acton Cthulhu 2D20, and we'll be playing next weekend a session inspired by Masks of Nyarlathotep, the classic Call of Cthulhu campaign, played with Lex Arcana, the fantasy Roman Empire thing. 3 more charity sessions remain for this year. If you donated $25 or more for to the Hero Save Villages campaign, head on over to the Charity Initiatives channel on the Dungeon Musings Discord server. That link is down below, and you cast your vote for which game we'll be mashing up with our next classic module or campaign. The last thing I'll say is, once again, a huge thank you to the stalwart crew of the USS Riel. So John and Will, thank you so much for joining me in the Final Frontier for this fun session. I will tell you, this is one white whale now achieved. I've wanted to run a Star Trek game in the movie era, the original series movie era, for fucking years. So this was so satisfying to get the Maroon Monster uniforms out and play something in this era. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
enjoyed it.
We'll be back likely in the Mortal Realms for our Soulbound campaign, our regularly scheduled one in 2 weeks' time. But until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that the crew of the USS Riel are encountering as they're simply trying to deliver a package for, I guess, some other Starfleet thing. But until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, happy gaming, and live long and prosper.